Welcome, Dowsers. We are so excited to have Jerry Jin with us tonight. He has spent more than 40 years in the pharmaceutical, diagnostic, laboratory medicine, and biotechnology industries. And his passionate interests have been in the areas of mind, being, consciousness, and the nature of reality. And of course, he is the author of The Seeker and the Teacher of Light. And his new book, which will be available in our bookstore right here, is The Science, Subtle Energies, and Spirituality, A Path to I Am. And so we are in for a treat tonight because we are going to be learning about these subtle energies on a deep level and be able to detect the bright vibrational energies of this fourth state that you're going to be talking about, right? And the tools will show the increase in the vibrational energy level as the affirmations bring you into your I am, right? So thank you. Take it away.
Okay, very, very good. Well, I appreciate being here. I know a number of you quite well, and I appreciate your being here tonight. Um, I will be talking about subtle energies. I will be talking about it I'll be giving it more details in the June 10th meeting of American Society of Dowsers. So I'll give a preliminary of that information and the gist of it. But I also will be introducing something new for you, a new I am energy that you may not have heard about because it's new to me. And we just, Joaquin and I and a few others have just discovered it in the recent month, basically. So but let me go into share mode and turn on my PowerPoint. Let's get it into the full screen mode. Great. And what I've been focusing in on is, in fact, understanding of subtle energies, and that's what my new book is all about: is working with subtle energies and in the science of this. And it truly is a science. And those of you who know about subtle energies and working with these radiesthesia and biogeometry tools know that it's reproducible, and that's the basis of science. And so I'll be talking about that. And this is the cover of the new book. And if there's questions, feel free to contact me at any time. I have my email address there, jerry@jerryjin.com. And my website is there that describes the books. And then he described who I am, so I won't go through that. But I worked closely with Joachim Whippich, and he's the teacher of light in the first book. And in the first book, you really learn who you truly are, about your I am essence. And he's a dowser, master dowser, and I consider him the teacher of light, a very enlightened fellow. I've been in many areas, in addition to being a seeker, scientist, corporations, entrepreneur. And currently I'm chairman and CEO of the Foundation for Mind Being Research. And the website is there. And if you like listening to different topics, definitely go to fmbr.org. We talk about lots of different subject matters. And the scope of the presentation, especially in June, is what is subtle vibrational energies, how to detect it, measure it. The subtle energies are everywhere, and you may not realize that, but hopefully by the end of the discussions today, you understand that. And the subtle energies listens to you. you are the creator, and if you ask it to move or you want to copy it or do anything, it in fact does it. And that may be a totally new concept to you. And we will introduce, or I will introduce a new energy to you and its implications as to who you truly are. See if I can move this out of the way here. So you can see the overall slide. Okay. Yep. Let's go back one. Subtle vibrational energies are virtually everywhere, and you may not realize that, but those who do radiesthesia know about it. And they also know about the vibrational spectrum. So if you tune into my talk in June, you'll see a diagram showing the vibrational spectrum. And it's basically a color chart circle and has the energies that surround it, the various colors. And you learn about that in the field of radiesthesia by having a sphere and the sunlight shining on the sphere. Where the sun shines on directly is in resonance with an energy called green, and it's the color green that you can dowse and detect. And so you'll have that as the basis of how you define the vibrational energies that are there. And there are various tools that you use when you talk about subtle energies. In order to understand subtle energies, you have to understand a series of different aspects. You have to understand basic tools to measure and detect these energies. You have to understand a little bit about the creation principles and what the torus and vortex is, and how that and creation and decay of matter, what that is, and the spins of the pendulums. And you'll learn about spins being associated with something called entropy and negentropy. And you'll learn about a new energy called 369. I know that two of you know a lot about that. And there's some new energies that are the fourth state of matter, and that's called GANs or ORMUS. And there's plasma, but they're monatomic elements, and they teach us about the creation energies. And these energies and these biogeometry tools all create fields. And some of these fields are called BG3 and 369 fields. And magnets, it turns out, creates the same fields. And all this will help define what subtle energies are. So I'm just giving you a cross-section to enable you to get an idea of what all of this is. And with that understanding, you can then build to determine what your own vibrational energy is, and what your level of vibrational energy is. And when you're truly at your I am essence, your energy, vibrational energy level, in fact, does go up. And you can see that in the rotation of a pendulum. And with that, you'll be able to, someone's trying to get in, there it goes. And with that, you'll also be able to learn that you can do things with these energies that no one else has really realized. You can move them, you can copy them, you can use them to activate water, you can use it to bless foods, you can use it for healing purposes. And the greatest of these energies is I am energy. And all this leads you to who you really are, which is your I am essence. And these are, I'm not sure if this slide is totally present for you, because I see in my slide, trying to figure out how to get rid of this and move this over. I'm not able to do so. Okay, I'll just leave it there. Just trying to move, okay, moves it over a little bit. Okay, these are the terms that I've just thrown out to you. And I was thinking that I was going to go through and define everything, but I'm thinking that that might be a little bit more difficult because I know that a couple of you know nothing about these areas, and a few of you know a lot about these areas. And so I have a mixed bag of people who don't understand what I'm talking about and some who do. And I may go to another presentation, but let me go through this presentation and I may go back to let people catch up on some of these things. But let's just talk a little bit about subtle energy vibrations being everywhere and the field of radiesthesia. Radiesthesia is a study where it's an ancient study or an ancient learning. It goes back to the Egyptians and probably way before the Egyptians. Because the Egyptians knew a lot about it and they built the pyramids based upon knowledge of this information. The Ankh, which looks like a little bit like a cross, had energies associated with it. So they knew a lot about the energies. The French brought this field back into popularity in the 1800s and early 1900s. And they use what's called a neutral pendulum to detect these energies. And you can use this to get into resonance with these energies. Resonance, again, is a key word. And I think what I'm going to do is go into another presentation because I'm afraid that a number of you won't understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to change presentations and go to my regular presentation on the subject matter, but go through it very, very quickly. Just escape onto here and go into another presentation because I'm sure that I have lost most of you by now. Let's see, go into, okay. I'm gonna go through some slides very, very quickly because I don't want to really repeat everything that I'm going to be talking about in my presentation in June. But I can tell that without doing some of this, you'll get lost. Okay, what science sees today, let me just put this onto, I will be talking about this on June 10th, and these are the set of slides. I won't go through it in detail, but this will help explain things a little bit better than I was doing. And science looks today at the electromagnetic spectrum, which is frequencies and wavelengths. And so we see the visible wavelength, and we know about gamma rays and X-rays, which are higher frequencies and shorter wavelengths. And we know about frequencies of radio waves and gamma rays, etc., and wavelengths that are in the visible. And in terms of the subtle world, we define that through the vibrational spectrum, which is given here. It's given in a chart that looks like a color chart, but it's not. And I'll go through this in greater detail later on. All this is a background that's necessary to understand subtle energies. So I'm just going to flash through this. I said subtle energies are everywhere in matter. plants, animals, EMF, etc. And you can connect with these energies quite easily with the use of pendulums. And if something is good for you, the pendulum will go clockwise, and if it's something that's detrimental, it'll go counterclockwise. You can use these energies to detect environmental harmony, and we call this BG3. Or you can detect things that are breaking down or things that are being created, because that will also have a spin associated with it. The basis of detection is through resonance. And I threw that word out, but some of you may not know what that means. If you strike a tuning fork, it vibrates, and all octaves above and below it will vibrate. You hit a string on a monochord, it'll vibrate, and all monochords at different octaves from it will also vibrate. The basis of a pendulum is if the monochord is a string length. You have two fixed points, and so the W is a string length. The same thing with the pendulum. The pendulum has your finger is one fixed point, and the ball of the pendulum is the other fixed point. And by doing so, you can vary that length of the string and get into resonance with virtually anything. And that's how you get into resonance with subtle energies. And you are the instrument as well as the pendulum, because you are the observer, just like in quantum physics, you are the observer. I'm going to flash through these slides very quickly because I'll go through it in more detail in the real presentation later on, but I want to get to a point where I'll be able to at least give you an idea of what it's all about. Because you need words, and you need to understand words, and you need to understand words like BG3 and radiesthesia to understand what subtle energies are. So radiesthesia, you can learn what your own personal wavelength is, and then you can learn what's good or what's bad for you. Dowsing works more on the mental side of things. It is also through resonance, especially when you dowse for water, you're dowsing the resonance of water, and so it's a different way of looking at things. But in radiesthesia, all you're looking for is just the vibrations of things. And you use neutral pendulums, which is not a precious metal or stone, and therefore you can use that and use a string length to get in tune with things. You can measure the amount of energy by 90 degrees, sort of inhibits the energies. And if you have a lot of energies, subtle energies present, they'll go through many more 90 degrees, and this way you get a feel for the amount of energy that's there. The basis of radiesthesia and of dowsing really is that your subconscious or right brain sees and has lots of information. Left brain just has information of what you know, what your conscious mind can see, taste, hear. And there's a veil blocking that. The pendulum allows you to focus in on these other energies of the right brain, and you can then, it's like you walk and your conscious mind is not really aware of your walking. Your legs just move. You don't say right leg move, left leg move. It just does it. Same thing if you use a pendulum. It'll do its thing if you allow it to do its thing. You'll access information. I won't go through this slide. And I talked a little bit about this one, so I'm not going to go through this one. And I'll go through more of these things in the real presentation. But I think for Nancy, she's wondering, okay, how do you experience this? Well, here's a neutral pendulum. It's just a ball and a string held close to the ball where your fingers are, because that's a fixed point. And if you're going to try to find your own personal wavelength, you slowly move up the string to make the string longer, get a to and fro motion going with the pendulum, and at the where you become in resonance with your own self, the pendulum will turn clockwise. If this were a workshop, then I'd have you be doing this, but this is a presentation. And at the very end, in the question and answer, I can show this to you in more detail. You can be in resonance with anything. Dowsers come in resonance with water. They are water. A good percentage of everyone is water. So they come in resonance with water. If you put a pendulum that has water in it, you can come into resonance with water, and the pendulum will go clockwise. Put an aspirin in another vial, and it'll go clockwise with the aspirin. Do the same with color. You be in resonance with the color red. Do the same thing. Just move up the string with the pendulum, and at a certain distance, the pendulum will go clockwise, and now you're in resonance with the color red. And that's how you define that color chart, the vibrational color chart. You have a sphere outside, and where the sun shines is green, and all the other colors that will surround it are there. And if you know how to find the wavelength of various colors, then you find where on the sphere it is, and that defines that vibrational spectrum that is there. Put it onto a circle and orient it towards north, and green will always be north, red will always be red, red will always be west, and violet will always be east. Don't have a compass, you can use this as a principle to find direction. Biogeometry is a field that, if you know nothing about, it's a good field to learn a lot about. It's based upon radiesthesia. It's a science of finding harmony and establishing harmony with biological fields and the environment, and use all sorts of tools to do so. You use forms, you use motion, angles, design, color, etc. It's founded by Ibrahim Karim. And if you have three energies present in that are actually one, well, let me put it this way. Anytime there's harmony, or like in the center of a circle, there's harmony, you'll find the quality of three different energies. You'll find the qualities of, in resonance with something called negative green, which is on that sphere opposite green. It's a penetrating energy. You'll be in harmony. You'll be, the other energy that's there is ultraviolet. There's a harmonica ultraviolet. So it's not ultraviolet itself, but an octave of, a higher octave of ultraviolet, and a higher octave of gold, and with the pendulum in the color chart that on the vibrational spectrum, that'll be the color orange. But it's one quality. It's not these three separate energies. You have three separate energies, you're not going to create harmony. But if like the center of a circle is considered a harmonious point, and you'll find these three qualities there. And you can generate harmony in an environment, and that is a precursor to healing. And there's a lot of healers among dowsers, and to establish harmony is always a good thing. And when systems are in balance, and when I talk later on about the Ormus materials and the GANs and the fourth state of matter, then things come into balance, and BG3 is created. And these are the pendulums that allow you to detect it, BG16 and the I-cup pendulums. Because of the structure of the pendulums, they'll actually go clockwise anytime there's the energies of harmony present. And all this is real. I won't go through the proof of it, that Ibrahim Karim established that in two cities, Hamburg and Hirschberg, people were sensitive to EMF, and he had tools that got rid of that sensitivity by harmonizing the environment. It could work with the diseases. You could have biosignatures that are in resonance with the disease organ and give that harmony, and the disease goes away. And this is also proven in a national study. These are just some tools as examples of BG3 tools. In terms of new subtle energies, a new one is the 369 energies. I won't have time to go through any of this in great detail. I'm just giving you a precursor view of what I'll be talking about on June 10th. And basically, Tesla said if you only knew the magnificence of 369, then you have the key to the universe. Well, what I found was that the torus shape is involved in the whole concept of 369. I won't go through the slide, just introduce you to the torus concept, which is a donut, basically, and introduce you to Walter Russell, who introduced another version of the torus. And and if you don't know about him, he's a person that you definitely should read about in his studies. And he had an out-of-body experience in which he defined, he was given the information as to what creation is. And creation is vortex motion of light. And what's vortex motion of light? Nothing but a torus structure. So if you have centripetal motion in with two lights, and we'd call one female, one male, we'd call one blue, one red. We can call it gravitative in and magnetic out. Yeah, but the energies coming in will go in a spiral, a vortex spiral, and it spins it around in a vortex. And at the center of the vortex is creation of matter. Is matter created by motion and equilibrium. Matter will dissipate, and that's counterclockwise motion. And that's the basis of all the clockwise and counterclockwise motion that you see in the pendulum when you do radiesthesia. And also, if you look at entropy and negentropy, that's a basis of that also. So two spins, spins in, creation, spins out, breakdown. And my invention here, or my observation, I'm probably just observing something that's been known for eons, is that here's a cross-section of a torus, the donut, and then the energy surrounding it. And when I saw the structure, I saw the 369 there, and you see that there, the 9 in blue and the red in the 6 and the 3. And alone, it doesn't have any energy, but knowing that clockwise motion is creation, if I put arrows into the motion, BG3 energy is present. Do the arrows in a different direction or trace these figures in a different direction, then you have the breakdown of products or the entropy aspects of it. These numbers themselves will show energies if you write the numbers in a clockwise manner versus a counterclockwise manner. The universe looks at units rather than numbers, typically. 369 just happens to be part of the structure of a torus, so it can interpret that. But 369, three dots or three lines, if you write this in this order, it will have BG3 and 369 energies. And it turns out that all the creation symbols have this energy. So the torus has it, the yin yang has it, Om has it, and the Om in Sanskrit, and that Om is nothing more than 369 written in Sanskrit. Marco Rodin's figure has it. If you draw out the lines on it, I won't go through this in this talk. The Bagua has this energy. And you can measure these energies with the 369 pendulum. All you have to do is write 369 on a pendulum, and it will go into resonance with this energy of 369. And this 369 is a creation energy. It's a torus energy. And it's very distinct from the biogeometry energy, although the numbers both typically give off, both symbols and biogeometry tools give off BG3 and typically 369 energies also. But they are distinctly different energies, and you'll see that later on as I go through the talk. These energies can be used for harmonization of the environment. You can create fields with it, but the fields do conflict. If you have a BG3 tool, like a cube or an L90, and I'll show you this, in a BG3 symbol, they'll nullify each other. We said that everything is a vortex in creation. So if you draw the vortex using the golden ratio phi, and you draw the curve, which would represent the different octaves, that curve will have BG3 and 369 energies. It turns out the Schumann frequencies also have these energies. And I won't go through this one, but your brain waves are associated with this also, and you are also. I wasn't planning to talk about any of this. I'm just passing through these slides, and I'll go back to my other presentation in a few minutes. But I wanted to get at least definitions that are there so you understand some of these things. And I think with that gives you enough introduction. Let me see if I can go back to my presentation I wanted to talk to you about. But I realize that with some of you not understanding this terminology, you'll be just lost in what I'm saying. So let me
And Jerry, it's good for people to know that a lot of this is in your book.
Yes, definitely. Let's see, let me go to my other presentation.
And you've done lectures on FMBR, which are archived and free.
Yeah, it's all there. But when I was talking to people in the very beginning, I realized that people just aren't going to understand what I'm talking about when I throw out these words. So I had
it's hard to get it the first time.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I continually learn new things. I will be introducing some new things. So Donna, you'll see some of these new things in there.
Oh, it takes many times for me to hear this stuff, believe me.
And I apologize to Nancy, who's new to all this stuff. But if I didn't give you that little bit of introduction, you'll be more lost, or maybe turned off because I threw about too many words. But let me just get into the full mode here. And
you're seeding our biofields.
That's right. Well, actually, all I was going to be talking about in terms of thoughts and subtle energies is that in terms of harmonizing biogeometry items, and BG3 does harmonization. You can be in an environment, and if you give that environment BG3, you can feel the difference. And I've done experiments in which there's lots of noise going on in a room. I harmonize the noise level, and the noise is there, but it's just a very gentle noise, even though it's there. You don't have the cacophony aspect of all that noise. It's just there. It's quietness among the noise. Many of you don't know about moving energies because that's never been taught before. And when I start playing with these subtle energies, you in fact can move it. You can actually, for biogeometry folks, you can take a cube or anything else as biogeometry, or anything else that you have that's an ohm energy or whatever, or just a plain old color. And you use a pendulum to just say, here's a color blue, and I'll just get the wavelength of the color blue. It goes clockwise, and now I'm going to move that blue over here or across the country. If someone else is you're on Zoom, and that other person will be able to find that blue color across the country, across the world, makes no difference. That's based upon who you are, basically, so you can move it. And the other thing that I discovered was that you can copy these energies. You can just say, I am, and it's just a thought. I am copying this energy permanently. And I've done that. I've done that in my talk, in my examples. I have a piece of wood, and I've copied the energy onto the piece of wood. They'll have BG3 in it that has 17,000 units of BG3. And you can activate water on this piece of wood just by doing that. And you can do lots of things, just your imagination. So those are the things that you can do with subtle energies. Oops, let me get out of this thing here. I do want to talk a little bit about raising your vibrational energy levels to your I am. And for those of you that don't know the term I am, well, that's the essence of who you are. And my first book is devoted to defining the I am. You're not just your body. Your true essence is your I am. And when you're at that essence, your vibrational level actually goes up. And when you do this pendulum thing and you're at your vibrational level, your pendulum will go clockwise at a certain rate. But you just repeat these affirmations as to who you are, and that pendulum will just start swinging wildly clockwise. And you're not trying to do anything. It's just that you're now at a higher vibrational level, and that's your vibrational level of who you are. And then if you continue thinking about who you are and repeat the affirmation, maybe 3, 6, 9 times, or just even a couple of times, depends on where your frame of mind is, the pendulum just stops, because then you enter the center of stillness. And that's the same center you enter into when you're meditating, and it may take you half an hour to get there. But you repeat these affirmations, and you're there within minutes. And you can be in that state or whatever based upon what you want to do, but you're there at that point in time. And I just thought I'd, let's see, whoops. I think, I'm not sure if you can see this, because if you're looking at my thing, see if I can get rid of this thing. Okay, I'll just read it. Affirmations to get you to I am. And I thought this is good to repeat because that is, for those who want the experiential, all they have to do is say, I am rethinking, rethink, I am. Now I'm going to go through an exercise on what rethink is. And but if you say that, and if you say it 3 times, 6 times, 9 times, you spiral into your I am essence. And that's when your pendulum will start rotating very rapidly. And if you do it, and if you can get into that center of stillness, you will feel that center of stillness, and everything is in fact still. You'll feel that as a palpable stillness. So that's the first affirmation that Joachim Wippich teaches. I have some other shorter ones that I sometimes use that I like personally. I am thoughts within thoughts within thoughts. I am. Because who are you? You are thoughts. And everything is thoughts. And when you use words, you learn the power of words because those represent the thoughts. But thoughts is at the heart of everything. So I typically say I am thoughts within thoughts within thoughts. That's 3 of them. Then I'm thoughts within thoughts within thoughts within thoughts within thoughts within thoughts. I do it 6 times, and I do it 9 times. I won't do it here because eventually we'll want to end the meeting. And then typically you say your full name, I am. Your full name, I am. And if you can understand who you are and you've read the first book, you can make the statement, I am everything I am. And that does the same thing. It brings you into that state of who you really, really are. And I thought I'd just talk a little bit about this concept of rethink. And the previous slides, some of them are in the, will be in that presentation that I'll be doing in June. The thoughts and rethink are not. But I think the word rethink is an underutilized word, and it's an important word. That's a word that I threw out in rethinking, rethink I am. But that concept of rethink in thoughts is critical because we create with every word and every thought. We sometimes think that, words don't matter and only actions matter. No, words do matter, and everything begins with thoughts. And as you get heavy into this area of thoughts and moving energies and doing things, you come to realize how important that is. So every thought and every word has impact. And you see this when you move energy, and the energy that you've moved can use it to do action. You can activate the water with the thought, and you can put water onto a piece of wood that you've activated, and that will now activate the water, and you can test that. These symbols that I've created, the Torah symbol itself has no energy, but as soon as you draw it in a clockwise manner, it has energy. And you can photocopy it, it will remain activated. You scan it 1,000 times, it'll still be active. And words do have meaning, and you can say words that you may not think about the meaning, but as you start thinking about meanings of words, they will then have more meaning to you. Example of a word that you hear all the time is, thank you so much. And for most people, the meaning of that is that you really want to thank that person. But the word itself doesn't say that. It's just like, I only love you so much. I'm only thanking you so much. So it's a limiting factor. And you want to take that limiting factor out. So the proper way to say thank you, instead of thank you so much, just maybe a small amount, be a big amount, no one knows. You can say it, thank you so very much. Then it has the greater impact of the word. And what Elohim does is that he tests these words and the impact of these words. And when you say the words and the universe listens to exactly what your thought and what your words are. And so if you're saying it in a way that has a negative impact, well, the negative impact will be there, or the not so great of impact will be there. So let's now bring in the concept of rethink. I am rethinking, rethink I am. Thoughts are linear, and your small ego, small ego, can mislead you. If you have a thought and, oh, I don't like this person because of such and such, that thought remains with you. Or this party is such and such, that thought remains with you. And it's linear. It stays there because you have not really rethought about it. But the concept of rethinking is spiral. You're trying to spiral into what the truth is. And if you don't rethink about something, you get stuck. And so if you rethink I am, you eventually get to who you are. So, and you have to go through multiple levels with regard to this. And so the rethink is a word that I feel everyone should use all the time. And therefore you get to the answer and get to the truth of something much more readily. And so your essence is I am. And that's, so if you rethink I am, eventually you'll reach that level. And when seeking the truth of anything, follow a spiral path of thinking and rethink questions, and you'll get to the heart of things. And this repeating what I said before, when you say I'm rethinking, rethink I am, you allow yourself to move closer to the truth. And what is the truth? What is your I am essence? You're not just matter. My first book goes into many chapters on this, so I'm just giving you just sort of brief abbreviation of what you'll eventually come to when you read the book. We're not just matter and are not just our bodies. That is all part of us. But our essence is eternal. And God, Source One, is the essence of everything and everyone. So we are that essence. We are the thought creation of God. And people have a hard time with that concept. And so I like throwing in an analogy. If you are water and you're the wave on the water, and the wave is sitting atop of the water and is moving forward, that water and that wave can be the you, the ego. And you are different from every other wave. But the essence of you is water. And the ocean is water. The ocean is God. So everything is of that nature. And that's the reason when I go through these exercises and go through your vibrational rate and go through what creation is and throw in the vortex and the torus, they all point to the same thing. All those structures are all part of creation. And that part of creation is all part of everything. But what are you? You are that thought. And that's the reason I'm saying I am thoughts, I am. And we create with those thoughts. So we are creators. We create with our thoughts, we create with our words. Everyone has free will. And we're actually one humanity. And the sooner we can come to that realization, the better off we are. And we are creators. And when you move energy from this spot to across the world, and everyone can do this, and everyone can test this. You have a Zoom, and you can put this energy of a cube onto a wall 1,000 miles away, and you've done that. And that person 1,000 miles away will have their pendulum and say, oh, you moved it here, and it's there, and you've done that. So everyone is a creator. So therefore, you create with a sense of responsibility, and you create with a sense of harmony, balance, and love. So that is one of the key messages. But I also wanted to leave you with some other thoughts here. Let me see what time it is. It's almost an hour, but I think this is good to learn a little bit about a new energy. So I'll tell it, the story. I am can be considered an energy. If, in fact, you draw a circle around I am, that has 900 units of BG3. And I don't think anyone's recognized that. So the circle is magical. You put it into a square or a triangle, it does not have that energy. And the I am has to be drawn. You have to write the I am with a pencil or paper, or if it's printed out, trace the I am, and then it'll have the 900 units of BG3. Now comes the magic. You take that paper in which you've written I am, put it under any globe, sphere. It could be your pendulum, your circular acrylic pendulum, or anything else. You have something else, a tennis ball, anything. Now, if you measure that energy, it's around 250,000 units of BG3, which is amazing. It's more than anything else that you've created in terms of that energy. Put two pieces of paper in which you've written I am underneath that sphere. It's now 600,000 units. Put three of them, and you have over 1 million units of BG3. And it's radiating this BG3. And that, in essence, is you. And here's just a globe, and I put three I ams underneath this. I take a picture of that globe, and that picture of that globe will now have 1 million units of BG3. Now, when you bless water, typically you say, bless this water, or you bless the food, or whatever you're blessing. Or just hold your hand around a glass of water. The BG3 of that water will move from 200 to 1,200. So you've activated that water to a good spring water is at about 1,200 BG3 units. But now if you say, I am blessing water. So you take ownership of who you are. That water now has 1 million units of BG3, which is absolutely amazing. Or you can say, I am copying my I am energy onto the water or onto a piece of paper, and that will have that energy with it. But there is a drawback. If I'm not at my I am level, and I'm copying my I am energy, and I ask a couple of persons to do this, just say, I am copying my I am energy to this piece of paper. I test the piece of paper. It has about 130,000 BG3 units, which is very, very high, but it's not 1 million. Then I ask this person to say, I am rethink I am, and to state that 3 times. And then I ask them to say, I am copying my I am energy to this piece of paper. The result is the BG3 is now greater than 1 million. So, very interesting. But all this energy is I am. As soon as you leave your I am state, all this energy is no longer measurable on these paper or anywhere else. It goes to 0. And so most of the time all I have to do is to say, I am not home, meaning my consciousness is not home. And if home is where I am is located, that's where I believe my home is. If I am home, then I am at my I am level. But if I say I am not home, the energy goes to 0. And the piece of paper, the photo, all of that goes to 0. So it does have its limitations in terms of usability. So I thought, well, people aren't going to like that, so I did something else. So since you can't use that, I said, okay, I'll create something that people can use and can have a more permanent energy source. I won't go through these slides here. Just talk about applications of energies. Well, maybe I'll tell one story. Using my I am energy, my wife had arthritis of the wrist and couldn't really lift things, and she's had it for years. And so I said, okay, I'm copying my I am energy to this wristband. I play tennis, so I had a wristband. I copied that energy on. She wore it overnight. And the next day, no more arthritis. The pain in her hand went away, and it stayed away. Just an interesting story, anecdotal. And you can use these energies for whatever purposes you want. I'm not going to go through that. And yes, you are. Am I am. Yes, you are. Okay, this slide is interesting. All the creation energies, all the 369 energies, if you put them under a sphere, the energies are increased. So the 369 energies, which runs around 300, and most of the energies except Om runs around 300. Om has been around longer, so it runs around 900. But when you put it under a sphere, they all seem to go to about 1,600, which is a good amount of energy. I am goes from 0 to 250,000 with a single I am. 16 is a biogeometry number. It creates resonance with about BG3. Pendants will do the same thing. There's biogeometry pendants, and the L90 does that. But you put those under a sphere, nothing happens. That's another distinction between the two types of energies. Centering energy versus a creation energy. If you put some of these creation energies into a square or a triangle, they sort of lock the energies in with those. So if you put those under a sphere, nothing happens. But if you want to achieve any level of BG3, what you can do is, here I've created an ohm structure, and I've created a 369 ohm structure with 12 ohms surrounding it. I call this a spiritual ohm array. And this spiritual ohm array with the 12 around it is not nullified by biogeometry tools. So that's the reason I thought I'd use this one. You have a single sheet of paper with this symbol on it, with 3 ohms in the center, followed by 6, followed by 9, followed by 12. You have about 3,900 units of BG3. Stack 4 of them together, you have 165,000 units of BG3. Put one of these SSAs under a sphere, and it now has 275,000 units. Put 2 of them, 575,000, 3, 700,000, 4, a million. I don't know if you ever use a million or 700 or 500. I'm not saying to use any of this stuff. I'm just giving you a story in which any of these numbers you can create and you can get. If you want to look at activating water, you can do that. And you can take a picture of this, and the energy will now stay with the picture. So I have a picture of this, and if I want a million units for any purpose, I just pull out my picture and copy that energy onto whatever I want to do. And people will say, well, that's bull, you know, you're just making stuff up. Okay, so I said, okay, let's do something electronic with it. And I'll use a BioWell, which is an instrument that gives off, it's a sensor. It has a sensor. The BioWell gives off electrical charge, and it'll go off a charge into water or into your fingertips or whatever, and it'll measure the discharge that is there. And so it's a legit instrument. Many thousands and thousands of people use it. And so I said, let's scan tap water and let's put a picture of a globe into the water after I get the background. So here's the BioWell instrument, a probe that goes into the water, hooked up to the computer. And I follow the background, and that's the orange on the left background, or the left side of the figure on the left, the brown. So there's a background energy level that is there. Drop in a piece of paper, you're not perturbing anything, you're just dropping a piece of paper next to the test tube that has the probe, and the energy goes down. And so therefore you have another curve that's there. So you have the area is down, and you see this in sort of a time frame on the right. And if you look at, there's a program called entropy on this equipment, and the entropy on the activated water is low, which means it's more structured. Entropy is breakdown. And activity level, that's also part of the program. If you're looking at an environment and a lot of people are meditating, the darker green is the deeper level of that meditation, and the normal activity is that lighter green. And so you have the lighter green as background, and the darker green as the energy that is of the water now that you've changed or activated or structured. So with that, I'll stop because I've talked probably more than an hour. I've thrown a lot of stuff at you that you may not follow, and I apologize for that, but I'll stop sharing and let you ask questions. Okay. I threw a lot at you, I know. But feel free to ask questions. Now I'll go through the first presentation in much more detail in June. And I'll throw in some other things that you didn't see. I'll throw in all the materials on fields, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So any questions?
Jerry, is this going to be, is the convention virtual as well as in-house?
Well, no, the convention is not virtual, but they're allowing, they have one day in which they're allowing some of those who are on Zoom to come in, and I chose that, and I was lucky enough they allowed me to do my presentation on Zoom. So I will have that, and so most of the presentations will not be on Zoom, and most of them will be real time at there. But I wasn't going to the meeting, so and I'm grateful for the fact that they said, okay, I can give my talk on Zoom.
So we can access you without attending.
You can access me without attending, as long as you've signed up. As long as you've signed up for the ASD meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know there is it is not free either. Even the part that is virtual, you have to pay for it. But
Okay.
it's primarily at Plymouth State University.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, first of all, Jerry, for explaining the rethink, because that's always been confusing to me. That was a great explanation of that. I've heard you say before that BG3 and 369 cancel each other, but in this presentation, you talked about how they were present at the same time. Is that
okay? Let me describe that a little bit more. Yeah, in my presentation in June, I'll describe it better. But if you have a ohm symbol or anything, and you have a cube, you put the cube, an ohm symbol there, and you won't be able to detect BG3 or 369. But if you make a statement, harmonize, thought, harmonize, the BG3 and 369 comes back together. Now, if you have the symbol, the yin-yang symbol, and you've activated the yin-yang symbols, that's a circle with the two curves, the S inside of it, which is really the torus. If you draw the circles around the two smaller curves, it's really the torus. But it's the two spins of the torus, one creation, one decay. If you put that symbol on here without saying or thinking anything, you get harmony. And for whatever reason, and I'm not sure I understand this, the ohms, when you put the 12 around that, it's harmonized, and it doesn't cause doesn't nullify the energies. So don't understand it, but that's an observation that a group of people that I was working with played with, and that's what they found. So I figured that's the one I'll use as my example.
So if you
Um,
had a, like a copy of that picture of the ohms,
Yeah.
and you put that under a jug of water, are you saying that that would harmonize it?
That will harmonize it. You'll
How
test that
long
water.
does it take? Just a minute?
Well, there's a curve that goes with it. If you use 1,000,000 units to harmonize it, it'll harmonize it within seconds.
Oh, okay.
If you use 17,000 units, it'll harmonize it within about 5-10 minutes. If you use just the ohm itself or a lower energy level of it, it may take 10 hours, 12 hours.
So you
So
could
it
put it
depends.
underneath a jug of water, stick it in your fridge, and by morning it would be cooked.
It'll be very harmonized. You can test it, or the other way you can do it is just put your hands around it, get in
Okay.
your I am state, and say, I am blessing this water.
Okay. Okay.
But you got to have ownership of that
Oh,
statement. If you don't have ownership of that statement, you'll give it a lot of energy, and you'll probably do a lot more than just saying, bless this water, which is what like, most people just say it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the ownership of who you are that connects you to the I am. And so when you're rethink I am, you're connecting with yourself and your true I am.
Thank you.
So Jerry, Nancy has a question. She has her hand up for a question.
Good.
Hi, Jerry. I learned in grade school, I guess, Einstein said he always kept his mind clear and his heart full, because if his mind was clear, that's where imagination and creativity could come in. So I've always said mindfulness is a mind full of clarity. And if it's full of clarity, then it can't be thinking. So I'm wondering, how does this resonate with you? I am re-being,
Rethinking.
I am re-feeling, I am re-knowing, I am. To me, the creator is all knowing. He's not all thinking. He's all knowing. He transcends thinking and feeling. He's being. She, he, whoever.
Okay. All things are thought, and
Not to me.
what in terms of creation, there has to be a beginning somewhere where God is everything. Well, God is water.
You just said the key, being. Everything is being.
Everything is being. Yeah.
Being just as being.
What one should do, in the way that what Joachim teaches, is that you test everything. So if I am testing myself, and that's my personal wavelength, I am being.
Right. You are being your being.
I am being. Versus I am. I am everything I am. And I'm thinking also, so it may not quite work, but if you do this and you follow it, you can choose words, and a feeling is something that is, well, I'm not going to say anything because I think it's best for everyone to figure out themselves the key words that are there. Joachim teaches it in a certain way because he's studied these words and he knows the words that work for people. And I'm not going to say something that may deviate from that because I have not tested it. So everything, you're evolving if you're looking at things and testing it and knowing what is in fact real in a way that your pendulum or your L rod or whatever you want to use, they'll all do the same thing. Um, if you're evolving and you make a statement, like if you make a statement, I'm thanking you so much, it's not evolving, whereas you're evolving if you make the statement, I am thanking you so very much. You're getting more of the meaning into things. So the words and the choice of words are very critical. And a lot of our words that we use, a lot of words in the dictionary are in fact limiting words. And limiting words are ways that you can be controlled. And you don't really want to be controlled. You want to be able to think and do what is right for you, because you do have your own free will. And therefore, you are that individual with the free will, and you always are. And that's who you want to be. Each one of us is divine. Each one of us is amazingly delightful. And each one of us has to think in that way. And each one has to think that I am love, I am gratitude, I am harmony, I am all these things that you really truly are. So
Aren't no words more powerful than words? Silence to me is more powerful. The pause is more powerful than the inhale and the exhale. The pause, the stillness.
that's the center of stillness, and
The
that's
stillness,
probably
yeah, no words.
That's
So
no words, and everything stops.
That's right. So I don't understand why you agree with thinking when thinking gets in the way of being. And
Well, that allows you to get to that I am state of essence, that center of stillness. If you don't say that, you won't get there, and most people won't get there. You can say, I'm at center of stillness. Okay, done. You're not going to be there.
well,
So if
a
you
lot of
rethink
the
that and spiral into that, or if you meditate and get to that state, then you're in that state. And so this is a way of thinking about things. And just like your pendulum goes more rapidly as you move into the spiral, and then when you're there, everything stops. And then you can be whatever you want to be at that center of stillness.
well, to me, in a lot of the webinars I attend, the heart, like heart math, everything, the heart is more important than the head. The head gets in the way of the heart.
Right.
We're all to be led
Well,
by the heart.
Okay, let me go through another teaching that Joachim gives. Before you do any dowsing, how you secure your dowsing and how you secure anything that you do is you state that I'm inviting all thoughts of my right brain and all thoughts of my left brain to join with my heart. And then when you do things, everything is harmonized. And that's how you achieve the harmony. So a lot of times people who are learning to use Joachim's dowsing rod, dowsing rod doesn't move. It's very hard to move. You're just moving around, and that's all you're doing. No, the way Joachim does it is he allows the energies to move it. And he allows it because he's in the I am state, and he teaches the statement, I am inviting every thought of my right brain and every thought of my left brain to join with my heart. Energy then flows, and the pendulum moves on its own. And the same is true using a regular pendulum. And that is, in my mind, a better way to come into the state of clearness. That, clear yourself to be able to harmonize is the typical way that people teach. But how do you do that? Blank mind? Can you get that blank mind going rapidly? No, much better by just making that statement. His old statement was, if you're a woman, I invite my left brain and right brain to come together to join with my heart. You bring your hands out, bring your hands in as you're doing that, and then you invite my right brain and my left brain to join with my heart. That's one way to do it, and that works. His recent way that he does it is I invite every thought of my right brain, every thought of my left brain to join with my heart. So
Thank you, Jerry.
various ways to do it.
Yeah, Jerry, Margarita has a question. She's had her hand up too.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, Margarita. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Yes, got it. Thank you. And I love your book. I'm reading it again because like Donna said, it takes quite a few times to grasp a lot of the concepts. I really love it. So you were talking about copying the energy, and you gave us an example, your wife's issue with arthritis. And the reason I'm asking is how are you able to do that? Because I know someone who's having a lot of issues with hands, and I would love to be able to help him. But I just don't understand very well the copying, like the practicality, like a very practical. So I want things that are helpful.
It's very, very simple. You have whatever it is that you're getting the energy from. If you have those symbols, the SSA, the picture of it as an example, and you just have that image there. You've made a photocopy of it. The photocopy has all that energy there. And if you want them to wear something like a wristband or whatever it is, or anything they have, or something, a wrap for their hand, all you do is say, I am copying, or I'm permanently copying this energy that's in this picture here. And you just copy it wherever that here is. Here can be that wristband, can be another pendant, can be whatever, doesn't matter. And then what you should do is test that other material. If you've got the BG3 pendulum or 369 pendulum, just test it, see if that energy is there. Test it beforehand, see if there's energy. Test it afterwards, see if there's energy. And to get these very high levels of measurements, I have pieces of paper very, very long with these 90-degree angles on it. And I have special ways of making these cross sections to measure what the energy levels are to do this, because I'm researching, I'm trying to figure out a number. So I have ways to do that. You may not have that vehicle, but you can see the pendulum moving very rapidly, and you have the stuff that if you've taken the courses from Gilbert or Doria, you have these. If not, come to me on a private basis and I'll tell you a little bit more. But you can test these things, and but just the rotation of the pendulum is all you need, and you'll know that the energy is there. It wasn't there before, and now the pendulum's spinning rapidly, and the pendulum's easy to make. Here's my dough pendulum that is just flour and salt, and I make a 1-inch dough and put a string and a knot in it inside and let it dry on a bed of flour, and you have a little pendulum, write 369 on it, and you have a 369 pendulum. It's that simple, basically. And the recipes are in my first book, and also I think I may put it in my second book, because I figured we should have these types of things that are there. The subtle energies, I don't really go into much detail in the subtle energies in my first book. The second book goes into details on these energies. The Om stuff is brand new. It's only about a week or so old, basically. So, and therefore, I'm just starting to incorporate that into my presentations. And I'll probably eventually create a YouTube on that. But I talk about a lot of these things about moving energies and how to do it. And so, like Margarita, if you wanted some of these things, just come to me on a private basis, and I'll get you some stuff and information on it. But the information's there, and it's free.
Well, I just need to get then your second book.
Yeah, it's there. Bookshop.
Available in the bookshop.
Amazon.
Yes.
ASD is I just sent, I think, a number of copies to ASD, and so Lisa will have it there at the same price as Amazon, I would assume. So
Thank you
it'll be
so
there.
much. There are no more questions. Thank you, thank you. And who's all going to be at the conference next month?
Okay,
I look forward to
good.
seeing you there. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And I will go ahead and stop recording.
Okay.